I'm open.
I'm still.
I'm peace. If you can unmute yourself and you want to share real quick, what's that word
Anybody?
that
You
describes?
don't have to, but if you want to.
Like everybody can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Just throw in anybody that feels to, throw in how they might be in this present moment. And you don't have to, though. Just by connecting inside of yourself. Just come up with one word or a statement. Or that energized, open, peace. Don't feel pressured, though. Don't have to speak.
Okay. Anybody else want to share?
It's okay.
All right. So, Kath,
Yeah.
let's start the conversation today. What are you seeing? Like you've got a pretty successful healing and coaching practice. What are you seeing in your clients these days? What's the word that's coming up a lot for you in your work?
Good question. I find a lot of people are searching right now. Things aren't working like they were in their lives. I think there's like an awakening happening. I'd say the best word would be awakening within people that I'm working with.
Okay. Carol Ann says she's great. That's her word today.
Great.
Yeah.
I love it.
So this awakening that's happening, what are we awakening to, and what are we awakening from?
You know, it's interesting. I think the illusion is that we have to work towards something. I always come back to, I mean, we all have this seemingly illusion of duality, and I think that we look for things. I think the paradigm's shifting from looking from the outside in to now, looking in the inside and realizing that we're really creating our own lives from within. It's not from the outside, it's from the inside, and learning that shift of paradigm. So I think that, there's a dismantling of conditioning, a large amount of conditioning that we all have in our lives and through our own experience. And, I think there's a time and point in life where stuff comes. I mean, life is always changing.
Okay. So
Yeah.
so then we have to we got to then look at maybe our beliefs. Like, is that what you're seeing in your clients these days, that they're coming with a set of beliefs that got them to where they're at, and then they're saying, you know what, this isn't working for me anymore. The old way of being or believing isn't serving me anymore. Is that what you're sensing, Cathy?
Well, yeah, I'm even, the power of language itself, and even the belief or hope. There was Jim Carrey said this beautiful thing that I listened to, and he said, hope is a beggar and faith is going, right? And I think that we have felt, and that's why I have such a belief in oneness. I think we felt so separate from our divine nature or the divine creator. And I think it's coming back to that, coming back to that place within ourselves, that emerging, we are everything we're looking for. There's nothing on the outside that we need.
So what does this kind of look like when we're starting to change, our focus and our beliefs like that? And what does it look like from shifting from the outside world and the outside triggers to the inside? What does that kind of like look like in our lives? How does that play out?
Well, I think for me and my experience for me, I think it's, it takes a little bit of dismantling to, I think it's about stilling oneself. I don't like to use the word meditation, although meditation is beautiful. I like to still and self-inquiry, which is about asking, who am I and what's there? And there'll be a huge resistance to going from the human doing place to the human being place, because it's like a train going down a track. It takes, to put the brakes on a train, it doesn't stop right away. There's many messengers on this planet right now of the truth of who we are and remembering who we are, like Abraham Hicks and the law of attraction. There's many that I could name off that are really touching each and every one of us in going inward. And I think it's a process. It's a process of self-inquiry. It's stilling oneself practically as a tool to actually give yourself, shift from having balance, right? A little more balance and having time to tend to yourself, rather than just being in this busy life that's, I think it feels empty sometimes. It feels like,
It's like the old Peggy Lee song, "Is that all there is?" Right?
Yeah. An emptiness, right? Sometimes. Yeah.
So, in the book, The Untethered Soul, which you like and gifted to me, Michael Singer, he talks about, like who am I? And when we describe ourselves as, we are, I'm whatever. I'm David Cohen. I'm a business coach. I do this and this and this. But that's really not the truth of who we are. So what is that truth? Who are we really then?
Good question.
I only ask good questions.
That's good. Very good. I think, not even think, if I had a taste or a morsel or a nectar of, I've done something called Satsang, and it's an inquiry into truth. I've done it for the last 4.5 years, and I sort of feel my life is a walking, stillness and meditation and awareness. It's just, I'm on that. It seems to be my purpose in life, just being in my own self to get to truth. But I think that who am I is behind everything, behind every thought, behind the belief systems, behind there's a layering of who we are. And I think sometimes when you still yourself long enough, this emerging you comes out, which is really everything and nothing all at the same time. There's a presence and a being. And I say it as I've had glimpses of, often people will speak to me and they'll say something, and I'll say, well, who's speaking right now? Who is that that's speaking? And if you actually inquire, a lot of the time we find that our ego is speaking. And when we go even back further, I've come to a place where I've felt moments of, sitting in the sands of forever and seeing, like, who sees stuff in front of us, right? Who is that sees? Who's the seer? I don't know if I'm answering your question, but that's the best way I can answer it. We're the seer that sees everything in front of us.
So we just have, and to get to that place, to be the seer, we just have to sort of get quiet and still?
I think, I think there's many ways, many practices. I like to call them practices. They're, it's not like a to-do list to get somewhere. And I think that's what endlessly takes us to doing. If we don't arrive, we have to arrive somewhere, right? I'm not proclaiming to do another to-do list. I really, in my practice, do the best I can not to give people to-do lists, but give them practice. That book, The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer, I would recommend anybody read that. It's an amazing book. It's changed my life on a lot of levels, and there's practices. It's becoming mindful of what's at hand inside of you. What's taking up most of the space? Is it your thoughts? Is it fear? You know what I'm saying? So there's many ways. I don't know if there's just one swooping way. It's awareness.
Yeah.
Aware of what's.
Is there a sort of a daily practice to tap into that beingness?
I would say allowing stillness.
So is it meditation?
I would say to allow yourself to even just sit and close your eyes and breathe. One of my teachers says to ask the question, who am I? Who am I? That you don't have to ask any other question, but to ask, who am I? to yourself
Well,
in practice.
all right. So we have the ego, and the ego kind of I find with my ego that's my negative voice. That's my inner critic. It's my little voice of fear. It's my little voice that says, nah, stick with where you're at. It's okay. You know, I call my little ego guy, Krusty the Clown. He's kind of like, drinking beer on the couch, like, and wants me to kind of keep him company. Yeah, what are you going to do that for? Sit here on the couch, have another beer. So how do we talk to that aspect of ourselves that wants to keep us sort of stuck and limited and negative and miserable?
Well, I think first of all is to become aware that that even exists. A lot of us believe that our thoughts are who we are, right? So a lot of us race around, as like myself. Sometimes, don't get me wrong, we're all human, and there's times when we get taken off in a tangent that feels very believable because you call it the Krusty the Clown. I have a much more special name for mine, which I'm not going to mention, but yeah, which
It's a family show.
Yeah, we're not going to say that over here.
Right.
But that, becoming aware of that and realizing that that's, a part of you that's trying to protect you from something that probably at one time served you in a big way, but no longer serves us anymore, right? It's stopping us. It's stopping us in our feet. And, I don't know if that answers your question.
Totally. Like, so how do we have to kind of manage that aspect of ourselves? And apparently we have a community of 12 people inside of us. How do we manage that negative aspect of ourselves that's saying, no, you can't stop, you can't make it, you can't do it, it's dangerous out there, that kind of thing. How do we not deal with it necessarily, but just sort of live at more peace and harmony with that aspect of ourselves?
I think it's becoming aware of it, and it's making a change. Is that a dog?
Yep.
Sorry. My dog.
Hello.
That's my dog, Kylie.
I love
Someone's at the door.
Kylie likes what we're talking about.
Okay, it's enough.
I think it's making
Yeah, it's making its voice.
say I'm not. It's like building a muscle. It's like practicing and building. If you go to do weightlifting and you want to build those muscles, it's like if you want to quit smoking, you have to continue to say no. And I think the forward momentum of that. It's like the ego is in the driver's seat, and once you want, the master, the ego to go into the servant seat and not be the master. It's a process, right? It takes time, and it's continuing to say no, and sometimes it feels difficult to say no, but it's like, I always say, one of my teachers says, the safety is in that little circle, but all the miracles are outside that circle, right? So we're not necessarily comfortable always, but it's stretching us to be, because the truth of who we are is awesome. Like, we're infinite, we're timeless, we're infinite, we have amazing abilities to create in this life. Each and every one of us does. And there's a story, some sort of narrator, because Michael Singer talks about that in the book too. There's a narrator. There's a commentator that's in that, that's constantly, narrating our life. It's like really, and even who you are is seeing that narrator at it. You can see it. Sometimes we can't stop it.
I find that little voice inside, that inner critic or the one that keeps us safe. And you're right. When you break free from that, when you have a breakthrough from that limited thinking, that's where the miracles happen. That's where, that's where you connect, you get the big client, or you take off the weight, or you quit the smoking. That's where the amazing things happen. But to get there, boy, it can be like a real, battleground in your head just to get to that point. Have you worked with a client, where you've helped them get to that point? And what was the process, and then what was the outcome like?
No, I think it takes a lot of courage for us all to, you know, I think to face ourselves. I mean, it's a courageous little journey, and it takes courage and bravery to go into the unknown, because it is the unknown, right? And we're so used to doing things and our safety and our same old, that each and every one of us wants that
Right.
we want that little security. So I mean, good Lord, I think the gift my clients give to me, because it's not just, it's a circle, is, you know, I get moved by the courage. And I mean, there's some clients that just amaze me. I mean, and you have to work it, you know. It's not like it just happens without you being present and working it. You know, you can't feed those negative thoughts and continue to think that your life's going to change, right? I mean, you really have to, it's uncomfortable, but you have to, even I have a little fly swatter sometimes. I kind of swat the thoughts away, and sometimes they get built up and they become overpowering, but you know, either, and then sometimes I can get like a message from a dear friend or somebody that tells me something that snaps me out of it, and it's like there's a deeper part of me listening. Because truthfully, I mean, we all have this beckoning call within us to, we know when we're not okay. Sometimes we just, you know, ignore it for a long time, right?
So are you seeing this happen more then? Are we all getting this sort of beckoning call for more, for better, for to live you know, our best lives right now? Because I kind of sense that's kind of what's happening. We're seeing the foundations of society, business, government, you know, kind of changing and crumbling right before our eyes. Yet to me, I think, you know, at first blush, that's kind of scary, right? And change, like there's so much change going on for collectively, but also, you know, if we look and examine our own lives, that we're all going through some immense change somehow. Is there something, do you feel like something deeper to that that's really forcing us to think, be, and feel differently, Cathy?
Well, I mean, you can't not turn on the TV or the radio and hear just stuff every day, and even in, I mean, individually and collectively. I mean, there is, and I mean, I have a lot of clients coming to me that, you know, are dismantling to rebuild themselves, and I think the word that comes to me is trust. And it's very hard for us to trust. So it you know, it's a process. And coming back, we've been so conditioned to believe that, you know, we're separate. We're, you know, I look at ourselves as spirits in meat skins, each of us, and we're all separate from each other. And I don't believe we're separate at all. And I think this illusion that God is way out there, I'm not going to get into that, but that we have a lot more power inside of us than we know, and we're tapping into that now. So I think there is a call. It appears to me that there's a collective call with a lot of people right now. And, you know, there's still a lot of people that are, you know, there's different vibrational people, different people at different places in their lives. I mean, I think collectively the world's in an interesting place right now, and without any judgment, because I think when I bring judgment into anything, or if we do, that's one thing we could work on for our whole life, is just judgment itself, because it brings in a lot of suffering.
Mm-hmm.
It would be really a beautiful world if we could come together and respect each other's differences.
Right.
Because really, the truth is, we really are all on the same game, on the same path, right? Really.
Yeah. Yeah. You and I have talked offline about this, and being, you and I both being coaches in the sort of self-help professional development field, I'm kind of getting a little disgusted and tired of those in that field marketing to me saying, well, there's something wrong with me. You know, there's something wrong. I'm not enough. Yeah. And you're saying then that we are enough. We have it all if we want, right?
I think we're everything we're looking for. I actually have a little thing here that I wrote down, and it was Muji, who's one of my satsang gurus. He said the mind in the form of the I concept, the I, has hidden your original peace, joy, and love, and is now promising to show you how to find it. So the mind will always take you to and don't get me wrong, if the mind's in the servant seat, it's very good. It's master, you know, the master is your essence, presence of your heart, you know, in love. I mean, it's a process. Bring me back. You know what's really hard for me right now? I'm going to tell you this. I love seeing faces.
Right.
And it's interesting talking to a microphone. It's stretching me. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
I feel connected to all of you, but I love face to face. It's funny, eh?
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, everybody on the call is really good looking.
Right on.
Yeah.
I love it.
Um,
I don't know if I answered your question there, but
kind of.
Okay.
So
ask it again.
you know that idea all right. So that negative voice, as it can limit us, but at the same time, it can also protect us at times too. So you know, it's not all bad. It's not a bad thing.
Discernment, right?
Yeah. What about the notion of focus then? You know, in order to sort of have breakthroughs and take, you know, our lives, our health, our business, whatever, to the next level. How does focus sort of play out in managing effectively these days?
Well, I think focusing on, I think focus in the sense of a to-do list. I get, who is it? And I said, I don't know if I'm saying it right, but that you put out to the universe what you want, what you're aligned to, but you don't get really too rigidly connected to how it's going to come to you. You just keep aligning yourself in your passion, your purpose, and your joy, whatever makes you feel alive and what makes you feel like you're creating on some level. Focus in the sense of rigidity to create another to-do list, to chase something, to me just is the same paradigm in which a lot of where we are, if we're not in alignment with ourselves, has created us to be misaligned again with ourselves. Just chasing something again on the outside, right?
Yeah.
To get somewhere, to get something that we don't have. I think that, you know, my teacher always says to me, you know, you always have to be mindful, because the minute you become complacent, that mind, that ego starts coming in with a different suit on, looking really pretty, and, you know, has you convinced that, you know, certain things. But I think it's slowing down sometimes. Like the whole paradigm of less is more. You know, I don't know, I find my life has shifted in the sense of when I trust, I just trust and I align and I just, you know, I'm open to being, you know, of service. It just flows better. It's like letting go of the oars and allowing the stream to take you, your life stream.
All right.
It doesn't mean that you sit there and do nothing. I'm not an advocate of nothing, but you take action, but it's different. It's aligned differently, right?
All right. So trust is just trusting that life, the universe, whatever, will support you in whatever it is you're choosing to do. Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Well, I would say the universe is very giving and wants to. I mean, one of my shaman teachers just said, I loved it on Facebook. He said, it's a dance. If you don't take lead, the universe will take lead.
Right.
So you got to take lead in your own life, but it's a dance with the universe, right?
Yeah. And we have to, I guess, dispel those limiting beliefs that keep us in that place of lack or discomfort or, see, I told you it never would work out. Or, you know, we have to kind of explore that, don't we, in order to get to that place of, you know, trust and surrender, too.
I think it is a trust and surrendering, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
And I think it's once those things come up, you realize they're not the truth of who you are. They're just, I mean, the mind is never going to stop.
Right.
Like I mean, there's thoughts that will go through our head. I mean, I don't know if any of you have felt this, where all of a sudden, out of the blue, this random thought from nowhere comes. You're not even, you know, it's like crazy. It's like, where the heck did that come from?
Right.
So, I mean, there's always going to be that. I think it's more management. It's managing. It's managing that, and it's very possible.
It's managing and letting go.
Surrendering, letting go, absolutely.
Yeah. And in terms of focus, what I kind of mean, and this is for everybody on the call, is like, you know, I think it's time to sort of take stock of our lives and really focus on really, really, really what's really important. What's, you know, is it family? Is it your work? Is it your, you know, community? Is it your, you know, your spiritual life? Whatever it is, your health, your going to the gym. Really, like, that's what I mean by focus. I don't mean by focus like and having another to-do list. I just mean like maybe it's time now just to step back and simplify and cut out the crap of what's getting in the way from us living our truest, best selves. That's kind of my feeling. What's your take on that?
That's bang on, actually.
All
I think
right.
it's just, I think you're right. I think it's aligning. It's just, well, it's almost like a reevaluation sometimes, right? I mean, some of us are abruptly put into that place, and some of us, there's a lot of stuff happening where some people are losing their health and losing their tracking, and sometimes there's, choice, and sometimes there's an abrupt choice that needs to be made to realign oneself, right? So I think it's good what you said. It's perfect, and it's, well, right? I don't know.
I'll come clean. I've been facing a bit of a health challenge, a little nagging toe injury, and it's forced me to really focus on what really matters this past 4 months since the start of the year, and making choices like letting go of stuff that the drama of it all, and truthfully, I think it's totally changing. And then this notion of focus and minding and watching our thoughts. For those on the call, I'm doing these treatments that are really confronting, and it's a battle of my mind every time I do them. And it's like I've got to just, like, my mind wants out. My mind wants, like, nothing to do with this. And it's a process of saying, let the thought go. I actually journaled today, this morning before I went. Would God fear these treatments?
Wow.
And the answer is no. And then, I just journaled to myself, and it says, so why do you?
Yeah. Wow. That's big.
It was big. Because we're part of that. Even, it might sound woo-woo to some people on the call, but, if you read Dr. Stephen Covey, who I just loved, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he says, we're spiritual beings having a human experience.
Yeah, that's true.
And that experience, dealing with the mind, the ego, stuff outside of us. So Cathy, we're going to open the lines up to the question. If we go hold it, what must we begin to do? What do you coach with clients? In terms
You're asking, so what to do?
Yeah. What's
I don't
sort
I
of
don't like-
daily
I
practice?
don't like, I kind of go back from the doing question because it goes in. Okay, so I think it's practicing, if you can, moments of your day where you can still yourself. There's some great stuff out there. Like, I would recommend anybody read the book, The Untethered Soul. That's an amazing book. There's so many amazing books, but the way that comes across, I think it's starting to feed one's time into things that, like even teachers or people or mentors that you would like to, that resonate with you, that make you feel like, oh my God, I'd like to start to feed yourself with that type of information or wisdom. I think it's shifting, from the negative. I don't even like the word negative, because it's loosening the grip. So start to loosen the grip and think, okay, well, it's not working, admitting some of the stuff is not working for you anymore, and surrendering. And sometimes it is allowing yourself to sit down and, have a good cry, or journal, like you said, or take the time to write down all that crap that you might have picked up during the day and you're afraid to even speak to anybody. Write it down and then burn it. There's many ways. It's just to try to continue not to hold the cap on everything and just sort of open to the possibility that there's a heck of a lot more there inside of you than what you can see right now. I don't know if that is that a to-do list enough, or is that just it's almost practicing and taking some time to be with yourself in this busy life. A lot of us have busy lives, busy.
Yeah.
And I think it's
and to be okay with what is, right?
yeah, I think so. Accepting.
Yeah, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
And that's sometimes hard to, that's a practice that sometimes, our life can change sometimes. Like, even what you're going through with a health issue. There's stuff that confronts us.
Yeah.
And sometimes very abruptly.
Yeah, or you know, it's admitting maybe you're weak or a weakness or you know, it's not easy.
Or a vulnerability, right?
Or a vulnerability. That's not an easy thing to do. How can we sort of, you know, be okay with our vulnerabilities? Because, you know, we all have, you know, we have great strengths, and yet we have some vulnerabilities and some holes in the armor. How do we, you know, just be okay with that, Kath?
I think the definition of strength and weakness has been sort of conditioned into us all. And I think the definition of strength is that, you know, you keep a tight lip, you don't feel things, you don't, good Lord, if you ever showed that you were, you know, sensitive or, you know, the world will, you know, I think there's a shift in paradigm of, I think actually vulnerability is a great strength, and to allow yourself to actually admit to some of the feelings that are inside of us, whether they be good, bad, or ugly, they be anger or sadness or grief or all these things. I mean, it's called dis-ease because, it's not just black and white by any means, but there's many layers to us that forms a lot of, you know, dis-ease in our life. And, you know, it's almost like an inner excavation. You're starting to dig, right? Dig inside.
Yeah.
And it's awareness. I mean, it doesn't have to be, even my life, I think, good Lord, sometimes, Cathy, you just got to have some fun because, you know, the work I do and, you know, how I'm, you know, sort of excavating myself on a daily basis, just to, you know, see those blind spots and stuff that are inside of us. It's a work in progress. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I don't know if we ever really get it right, but, you know, at least we can make progress, exactly.
Well, I think if you're in the moment, if you're in the now moment, surrender, all opportunities are in now.
Yeah.
There's nothing from the past that brings opportunity, and there's nothing really in the future. It's right now. So you have all the power. We have all the power right now.
On that note, let's open the lines to questions. So who's got, maybe you want some coaching, you got a question. So I'm going to unmute everybody. Watch your background noise. And does anybody want to, you know, ask a question? If you want, you can unmute yourself. I think, Caroline, you're self-muted. That sounds scary. But if you want to... If you want to mute yourself and chime in, please do. Anybody want to share or something coming up for you, or you have a question you want to you want to sort of get some coaching on right now?
Everybody's in a good place. I can feel it.
Okay, good. You talk a lot about, you know, choosing to be loving in spite of our shortcomings. You know, talk to us a little bit about that, because that's tough. You know, it's like, you know, because, like, you know, we're all like, on one hand we're enough. On the other hand, you know, I'd like a little bit more money, or I'd like a bit more of this, or I'd like a bit more of that. You know, so there's always this sort of, I think, this dissatisfaction going on with the outside world, but yet inside we're enough. So what's the distinction between the two there, Cathy?
Funny, remember you and I discussed, you did the Landmark Forum, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know what, I mean, at the end of that it says life is empty and meaningless, right?
Right.
We go for a whole weekend and it says empty and meaningless.
Yeah, and people get really ticked off about that one.
They think I spent $600 or whatever it is now to hear that at the end of it, but they did, you know, if I remember during that, experiencing that weekend, which was profound. I would also recommend anybody do that. I did that 11 years ago now, but there was 3 derivatives of what drives us. Either we feel not good enough, not worthy, or I can't remember the other one.
Not lovable. Or
not lovable. So really, we all have, you know, somewhere inside of us, some of those. Some of that self-talk comes from that deep core thing of not feeling worthy, or not feeling good enough, or that we'll never get, you know, we'll never feel good enough, right? And it's funny because I feel like when you start to dismantle, you know, the outside world somewhat for me feels like a bit of an illusion right now. It's like, wow, it just, you know, I get shocked sometimes when I have such blessed friends and people in my life I'm so grateful for, and when I go out there and I get a harsh something at me, it's very startling to me. to know that, you go, we were talking about this, David, recently, when we go out on the road and we get the finger when you make a wrong turn on the road or something. So everybody's sort of in a state of feeling this frustration, or maybe even running, like you said, to their job, which is, they're trying to pay off their bills, and we're sort of busy just trying to survive, right?
Yeah.
It really, it feels like that. Take me back. What was your example? I should say. Go
Well,
around.
just, the distinction between, being loving to ourselves and well, the distinction between knowing we're enough and yet battling the outside of it, it never being enough. It's never enough. I remember interviewing Michael Gerber, author of the E-Myth Revisited, and, we talked about money, right, for small business owners, and he said, we never have enough money. None of us have enough money. And when I realized that, I went, he's right. None of us have enough money. So stop complaining about your money, because none of us have enough.
I'm not sure about that, if that's truth, actually. I'm not sure that's complete truth, that we don't have enough money. I think if we're resonating at a not worthy place, then a lot of stuff's going to line up to that not worthy place, right? Mm-hmm. Because there's times when there's plenty. Not times. A lot of the time there's plenty. We just close the gate to it, right? Our own selves from these deep belief systems, or we don't. And a lot of the times, we're not aware of it. So really, it's about awareness. It's about excavating the subconscious, the unconscious in us. I think there's a lot of stuff, dirty water that runs underneath that we have no clue. That's influencing our decisions. We don't have a clue. And then we get these sometimes health issues, or we have, relationship problems, or we have, we just don't feel right in our lives, and then, there's an opportunity. A lot of times these downfalls are major opportunities, and for us to break through our limiting beliefs or our limiting ways, it's purely just like what I love about satsang for me is that it's just a softening. It's a continuing to soften, and when you go to harden again, and listen, we're all a work in progress. There's times when it's very convincing in my own life that, it's been, even in my own life in the last couple of weeks, there's been some convincing stories that pop up in me and begin to take over, and it's dismantling that. And what's going on here? Why is this coming up again? This fear, right? So it's digging deeper.
So it's true freedom from the fear, the pain, the suffering, because as you said, we fear that we're not good enough, or that we'll fail, or our insecurities, our anxiety, our self-doubt comes up all the time, every day. And I'm reading, again, Michael Singer in his book, The Untethered Soul. He says that to end the suffering, you must first realize that your psyche is not okay. You must then acknowledge that it does not have to be that way. You don't have to suffer. It can be healthy. It's truly a gift just to realize that you don't have to put up with or protect your psyche. You don't have to be constantly mulling over what you said or what this person thinks of you. What kind of life are you going to have if you worry about things all the time? And I'm also reminded by Byron Katie's material called The Turnaround and the Work. It's like, who would you be without that story? Yet we get addicted to that story, the story of suffering and pain, and this one did this and that one did that, and really, did they? Or, who's worse? If somebody yells at you, who's worse? Them for yelling once, or you for playing it over and over and over in your mind?
Well, it's like the old saying: if you've been hurt by somebody, you're drinking the poison expecting them to die, right? It's not going to happen. Through unforgiveness and stuff like that. It's a balancing act. I think it's when you're saying that, there's somebody. What I like now in my practice is that who's seeing the narrative. I'm pointing when I point to my clients. I point inside them. So who is the one that's narrating? Who's the narrator, and who's the one that's seeing all of it? And that's the place that I'm being pointed to through my teachers. It's like, go in and experience this place. It's not a to-do list. It's going in and stopping everything for a moment to see what's there.
Right.
And I think in that, I think in that stopping that, there's a chance, you know, even just saying that slowly, there's a chance. There's a chance there, because you know what, my dear friend yesterday said to me, really, it could be, you could have, you know, let the emotions go and be back right in alignment very quickly. We don't have to indulge. We don't have to, you know, and it can be a split second. You can be back into it again. I mean, life is, we're in we're in a matter, a carbon-based matter body. This particular vessel we're in is going to, you know, go back to its creator, right? Going back into the earth again. But the spirit within us, the truth of who we are, is infinite and timeless. That's the one I want to, that's the place I want to help people go. And that's their journey. I'm just pointing the finger back to them.
Right.
And even in myself, it's
Yeah.
going inside, right?
So what does the truth of who we are look like? Is it a freedom? Is it a lightness? Is it a, you know, is it the absence of worry and fear and pain? What does it look like, Kath?
I don't think you can get attached to what it looks like. For me, it's been a taste of experiencing something. It's not necessarily something you can tell somebody you do 1 step, 2 step, 3 step, and you're going to feel this. The way for me, over the years, and I've done many, I mean, I've been on this journey, I've been practicing energy medicine for 20 years, and this journey is endless, and I think it's layers upon layers, and you know, you don't know, it's like they said in Landmark, you don't know what you don't know. So there's a lot that we know that we don't know, and there's some stuff that we, you know, we know, and then there's that infinite place we don't know that we don't know. That's the untapped territory in us.
So to begin to get into this new state of beingness, it starts with intention, no?
I would say, yeah. I would say intention. I don't like to get caught up in words, but yeah, I think it starts with a desire on some level to shift within. And I think, you know, sometimes the call, I always say that the radio station, sometimes the volume comes up really high and you really can't deny it any longer, but we all know in our lives when we know that we need to deal with something and we don't deal with it, right? We all have known those times when you know there's this pressing thing there that keeps coming back, because all of us has something that's just continually reenacted with different faces and places in our life. Every one of us.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we usually have one place in us that we continue to go to the doorway and we won't go through. And that's the place we need to go, right? We need to go to the place we don't want to go. The place we resist the most is the place we need to go.
Right. And again, Landmark talks about, you know, what you resist persists.
Totally.
It sounds too, you know, we have to really start to take responsibility for our lives. True responsibility. And that's your response and your ability to respond in a more positive, proactive manner to things, right?
I love that. I love that.
That's what it sounds like.
It does. It's very good. Did you just come up with that right now? Very good.
Well, you know, there's a video on YouTube that I show in my marketing classes, and it's I forget his name, Michael something. He's the owner of the Container Store in the U.S. And here's a business that is one of the top-rated businesses in the United States, and they sell, you know, like containers and storage solutions and things like that. They actually spend over 200 hours a year investing and training their employees, where the average business spends 8 hours in training their employees. And one of the things they really emphasize is customer care, how they're working with the customers, and what's your wake? What's the wake you're leaving? Because if we step back and we think about, you know, how are we being? How are we showing up for our customers, for our stakeholders, for our community, for our investors, for our customers, you know, that kind of thing. If we step back and think, like, how are we showing up? What's our wake? That's a great place to look. And to me, that's about taking responsibility for how.
Oh, I love that about your, what's our wake. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And it is true. I mean, wouldn't it be a better world if we could all take responsible? Everybody's blaming everybody else for their plight in life.
Right. Well, when you point the finger at someone else, you got three pointing back at you, right?
That's true. So you know what I don't, it says on the screen, what about trusting the unknown? I mean, I think it's just allowing yourself, it's a process, and I think it's, you know, trusting the process. Trusting something, you don't even have to know completely.
What about trusting yourself?
And I think that's the truth no matter what. You're there. No matter what. I mean, we always think that we're somehow fragmented, but really the truth is there's a presence within each and every one of us that is omnipotent.
You, a lot of people in the personal growth field are saying, you know, like, really, if you really want to live, you know, choose to live a life of possibility and joy. What's your take on that?
Yeah. I'm learning that myself. I've practiced, a lot of my life, I think I've realized that I practiced suffering.
Yeah.
You know?
And conditioning, like how it's supposed to look, right?
No, and I dismantle that. I mean, we come in with stuff that we need to grow, and you know, and people grow us, right? When we meet people, they grow us. They nurture us to grow. They grow us. I mean, I love that statement because we grow each other. We help each other. We get touched by people, and they have a lasting imprint on us that expands us. Hopefully, I mean, you know, not hopefully, but I mean, it's quite possible if we allow it. We can be touched every day of our lives, right?
Mm-hmm.
In different ways, in even unexpected places. There's so many surprises in life that, you know, we're so busy keeping everything in control, including myself, and I'd admit that. I mean, there's been you know, you just get too rigid, and it just limits things. So,
When you know, in terms of possibility and joy, I hearken back to, we're almost out of time here, but Forrest Gump, you know, Tom Hanks,
yep.
one of my favorite actors, and you know, he was in a different consciousness, that guy. If you think of that, you know, entire movie, he was so pure and so innocent, and it was all about love. And look at the miracles that sort of, you know, happened to him. You know, like he's out on the fishing boat, and you know, all of a sudden in a storm they end up with, you know, thousands of shrimp, the Bubba Gump Shrimp Factory, and then, you know, on his run, you know, he's on that marathon run, and he invents the happy face. You know, it's like this guy is like everything, like, you know. And then he meets the president, and you know, it's like
it's childlike, isn't it, Bill Davis?
childlike. So it's almost like we have to let go of all that stuff, that clutter that's in the way, declutter, deprogram, and really try and really be in a place of possibility and joy, and these things will, like, life will work itself out.
Yep.
Right?
Interesting, one of my dear friends who's on right now teaches me that, and she's a practicer of joy and happiness, and it's amazing. Like, truly, just by her beingness, it certainly permeates me, I can guarantee you.
I'll share with you, I have a good friend of mine who moved from Toronto to Calgary about a year and a half ago. And things just weren't working for him here as much as he tried. And boy, his whole life has just taken on a whole new direction. And every time I see him post on Facebook, it's like, oh, he's skiing, he's doing this, he's doing that. And he really is, like, of all the people I know, this guy is mastering living in a place of true joy and true freedom and true self-expression. And amazing opportunities are coming his way.
I think it's beautiful. It's like my friend. She's also she's just yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, and you know, I just open to continue opening and let go of the grip and let go of the grip, and allow what is, you know, the awesomeness that's inside of each and every one of us. We're beaming light.
Yeah.
We're beaming love.
Yeah. And
I don't know if I'm going to have time to sing my little. I'll do the short version. Will I have time?
all right, let's wrap up the call. Any questions before we wrap up with Cathy? I hope you got some good value from it today. I think you did. I feel it's a nice energy to take with us throughout the day.
I want to thank everybody. Just
Yeah.
thanks for being here today.
Yeah. So do you want to sing us out real quick? And our next call will be May 21st.
Can you hear this if I play this, David?
Yeah, I hear it.
Okay. We walk this earth together with our feet upon the ground. Sometimes knowing where we're going, sometimes waiting to be found. We may think we're all so different. What's mine is mine, not yours. Always standing for some cause and fighting all these wars. Even though we may not know that our journeys are the same, we are heading down the same path and playing the same game. We are one on this earth. On this earth we are one, heart to heart, hand in hand. We are one, we are one. What would this earth look like if we knew this to be true? An earth full of promise, full of love for me and you. A planet with a purpose, what a vision to behold. Peaceful future for our children, different story to be told. We are one on this earth. On this earth we are one, heart to heart, hand in hand. We are one, we are one. We have never been alone. You are me and I am you. In this mirror you will be shown. We are one through and through. So the next time you decide you are separate from it all, remember just this one thing, your heart open is love's call. We are one on this earth. On this earth we are one, heart to heart, hand in hand, soul to soul. We are one, we are one, we are one.
Woo, what a nice way to end. Yeah, bravo is right. Shameless self-promotion time. Where do we get a hold of you?
What was that? Okay.
Yeah.
You get hold of me. I'll give you my, can I give a cell number?
Yeah, sure. And Carol Ann says, love this, thank you. And Gerardo types in, you have a really nice voice.
So you can get a hold of me at N as in Norman Light Now, nlightnow at yahoo.ca, my weare1.ca website, which is in transition, but it's the old one up right now. And yeah, you can get my phone number through the website.
Okay, and if you need to connect with Cathy, and you're also really doing something very cool with the PEMF beds.
Yes, I am. I'm doing some really powerful work with pulsating electromagnetic field therapy, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can find me on PMF Therapy Group on Facebook, PMF Therapy Group, and then I have my We Are One Coaching and Healing on Facebook as well.
Beautiful. Well, I just want to thank you so much. You're an amazing colleague and friend, and you're helping me so much in my path these days. And I just can't thank you, and I just love you to bits. And I want to thank everybody that spent an hour with us here at lunch to be on the call. Thank you, everybody, for investing in yourself, too.
Thanks, David.
All right. Thanks, Kath. Big hugs, my dear.
All right. Lots of love.
Yeah, lots of love. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you next month, May 21st. Be well.
Take care.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.